All right. So let me tell you one other thing about these SketchUp drawings that are on the Trimble warehouse. Again, if you click here, you can download this SketchUp. You won't get this picture. What you will download is a SketchUp file, and it will now be a SketchUp file that's on your computer. But you can't get it to do this, to look like this, unless you have SketchUp. But one of the things that you can do, and remember this is the 94 version 94. There is available from Trimble are analytics where they show if people are looking at the model, and we see that there are people looking at it, and there's been some downloads, and the version 83 of this had a lot more views and a lot more downloads. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is you may find yourself discussing this with somebody and it doesn't make any sense, because what you have to talk about is not what they have. And it's because I felt, since I have updated the version 94, that I should take off the version 83. So that may be what is generating the confusion. So again, this is the 94, and these are the little parts of the 83 that we just went over. And these drawings, block drawings, they're not bad. What we added with the version 94 was a better picture of exactly how this structure is going to fit together. And so you can see here that we have the 60 gigahertz transceiver, and there are some parts inside of the piston that allow this piston to communicate, because remember, the central processing unit of the robot that's running the robot is on the outside of the robot, in the head or the heart area or somewhere. So it's not inside of this piston, and it needs to be able to control what's happening on the inside of this piston, and it also needs to be able to acquire information. And so it's actually not hard at all to make little blocks and put them in there. It may be that the original design here can't have all this. I'm not completely sure that it needs all this, but one of the things it needs to have is this AC voltage from this secondary coil needs to be brought to a DC voltage, and that's what the bridge rectifier does. And then there needs to be a processor that has programming capabilities to interact between the central processing unit of the robot and this 60 gigahertz device to run this 60 gigahertz piston transceiver in a manner where it's helpful to the overall function of the robot. So this is not, this has a quality of some active behavior. I thought perhaps some EEPROM and some RAM and a DC voltage regulator and the Intel Quark. I'm not completely convinced that you can get all of this in there, but one of the interesting things is that with the newer, smaller Intel die chip system, it's a possibility that Intel could take all of this and put it, the entirety of all of this, and put it in something that used to be the size of their Intel Quark. So I'll leave this for you to see, with the understanding that I'm not sure if it can all be there or not. And the other issue that we have in the 94 is that we have this piston that we can show as moving back and forth. And so that's one of the things that we can do, is demonstrate the movement of this piston. And when we move this piston back and forth, you can see I've put in these 60 gigahertz transceivers in the piston head, and they're sending out their 60 gigahertz radio frequency signals that go through the ceramic of the piston wall and through the ceramic of the cylinder wall, and they come up to and interact with the 60 gigahertz transceivers that exist in a linear array right here going down the wall of the cylinder. And so this kind of off-colored yellow block is a similar setup of parts for the cylinder wall as we see in the piston. So this is also going to have a quark and power. Now you could send DC voltage directly to this because it's on the outside and it's not moving in the sense that it doesn't go back and forth. But this array of 60 gigahertz transceivers is also going to be an array of transceivers under the control of the central processing unit of the robot. Again, with this somewhat division of labor where some of the control and processing of this array of transceivers on the outside of the cylinder is done at the local level, and other parts of that processing is done at the upper level of the central processing unit of the robot.